What happens in these cases is that his addiction actually will work to his benefit. It's a mitigating factor at the time of his sentence. And so I think when you're looking at a guy like him, he simply doesn't fit the profile of a drug dealer. He's on a 3-year contract that's worth $5 million, so he clearly doesn't need the money selling drugs on the streets. He's a father, he's a husband, he's an athlete. So he doesn't fit the profile of a drug dealer, and what that, his attorney, the attorney's job would be basically to bring that to the court's attention and say, look, my guy is an addict who then spiraled into this drug world, and it just permeated into every aspect of his life, and it went from use to sales. The problem with federal drug cases is that the drug quantities and the type of drug then dictate what statute applies, and then there are these mandatory minimum sentences that are sometimes 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years, and they're extremely harsh. And so just August of this year, Attorney General Eric Holder issued a policy memo to the Department of Justice and held this extensive press release saying that the drug quantities should not be alleged in the indictments and in the charging documents, so that does not trigger the mandatory minimums. And that's
okay. And by drug quantities you mean 1 pound, 2 pounds, right, whatever.
More than 50 kilos of whatever the drug is. And so by avoiding the allegation, then the mandatory minimums don't get triggered. But this would be going forward. And so with all these cases that are now going to sentencing that were charged before this policy change, there are ways to get around the mandatory minimum, and I think that the co-defendant in this case, who got 8.5 years, clearly did. One way is to work with the government and be a snitch and a narc and help them indict other individuals, and then that ultimately works to your advantage and you get a discount on your sentence and you avoid the mandatory minimum. And I think that's what's going on in his case, because obviously he was buying from a source, and he's not part of the cartel, so there's somebody else, above him. And also, what is a red flag to me is that the sentencing recommendations of both the government and the defense were sealed. And usually those are sealed for safety reasons when the client is cooperating. So I think that he's probably providing information to help himself. And I think that the fact that he's an athlete and a father and he's fallen into this addiction is going to help him in terms of his mitigating factors at sentencing.